Good afternoon. My name is Ned Carey, and I'm a candidate for the Maryland Senate in the 31st District, which includes Brooklyn Park, Glen Burnie, Pasadena, and Severna Park. I've knocked on thousands of doors since kicking off my campaign, and I've talked with hundreds of voters. Over and over again, I've heard the same thing. People are sick of politicians who say one thing and do another. My opponent, Senator Bryan Simonaire, spent 4 years doing just that. He calls himself a vocal voice against excessive spending, and he says he consistently opposes out-of-control spending. Unfortunately, his actions don't match his words. Since being elected to the Maryland Senate, he's wasted tens of thousands of taxpayers' dollars on himself. He let the taxpayers buy him a hotel room on 23 separate occasions, even though he lives less than 20 miles from here. He took a per diem for every day the legislature was in session, without submitting a receipt for a meal, and he took nearly $4,000 for mileage, just for driving to work. That per diem adds up quickly. This session, he drew $42 per day. In the 3 previous sessions, he drew $41 per day. That's nearly $11,000 for meals over 4 years, and he never submitted a receipt. Let me read to you from the state's own travel guidelines. Quote, "An employee traveling on official business is expected to exercise the same care incurring expenses as would a prudent person traveling for personal reasons. Travel for business should be conducted at a minimum cost for achieving the success of the mission." Unquote. The state tells its employees to treat taxpayers' money like it's their own. Bryan Simonaire didn't get that message. He took the full amount allowed every single day the legislature is in session, without regard for whether he was in Annapolis or whether he needed the taxpayers to pay for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. On Mondays, for example, the legislature doesn't convene until 8 p.m. Why would he need any meals on Monday on our dime? Or Fridays, the legislature usually recesses midday, and committees rarely meet in the afternoon. Do you think he needed dinner in Annapolis every Friday night that the legislature was in session? Evidently he thought so. Heck, he even took the per diem for the days the bills were signed after the 2007 special session. Does anyone remember seeing him in any of the bill signing photos? I call on Bryan Simonaire to show us receipts for every single meal he expensed during this year's 90-day session. If he can't, he should return the money he took for meals to the taxpayers. If I'm elected to the Maryland Senate, I'm going to pack my own lunch and pay for my own meals every single day. I'm also going to go home to my own bed every single night. That's my brown bag pledge to the voters. More importantly, I'm going to target this kind of waste that lawmakers like Bryan Simonaire have been abusing for the past 4 years. I've got a 4-point plan. Point 1. We're going to cut costs by eliminating the per diem for legislators who don't stay in Annapolis overnight. If you wake up at home and go home in the evening, there's no reason the taxpayers should be feeding you 3 square meals a day. Point 2. We're going to promote fairness by requiring lawmakers to follow the same rules that ordinary state employees follow with regard to travel. If it's good enough for civil servants, it's good enough for public officials. Point 3. We're going to increase accountability by requiring legislators who take the per diem to submit receipts. No more blanket $42 per day reimbursement. The per diem should not be a salary supplement for lawmakers. And finally, point 4. We're going to increase transparency by requiring all records related to legislators' per diems to be posted online so that ordinary Marylanders can see how their elected officials are spending taxpayers' money. It's real simple. People around the state are doing more with less. They expect their lawmakers to do the same thing, and guys like Bryan Simonaire haven't been. He needs to come clean today about where his per diem money went, or he needs to return that money to the taxpayers. If I'm elected to the Senate, I'll crack down on this system. It's not going to make me popular with my colleagues, but I'm not going to Annapolis to make friends. I'm going to Annapolis to create more transparency and more accountability for the taxpayers, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.